the Justice Select Committee has recommended several changes to soften the Firearms Prohibition Orders Legislation Amendment Act. They're never short, are they? Long names. Stating the government's moves to crack down on gang associates and their firearms could potentially capture innocent people and giving police too much power for warrantless searches. It's recommended several changes to soften the bill, restricting what can be the subject of a warrantless search, giving an example, say, searching all the rooms owned by someone suspected of being under a firearms prohibition order or an FPO would be a step too far. What else do they want to soften? Well, joining me now is Associate Minister of Justice, Nicole McKee. Good to have you back on the show, Nicole. Good evening.
Good evening. It's great to be back with you, Leah.
Thanks for your time, Nicole. I know at the moment Parliament is very busy. You guys are always busy. This part, the bill, part of the government's crackdown on gangs, Nicole, we've talked about that. So when the Justice Select Committee suggests a softening of the bill, is that disappointing?
Look, I think they're doing their role, right? And their role as a Justice Select Committee is to hear submissions from the public and then, with the information that they receive, then look at how they can make changes to any bill that is in front of them that's more in line with some of the feedback that they've got from those submitters. When I look at what they want to do, most of it I go, yeah, look, okay, I get that, and it's not making too much of a fundamental change, and they do have some aspects there. Although there's some bits of it I'm not too, I understand why they're doing things, but the whole reasoning of why we wanted to put in some of these issues. So, for example, one of the ones that I'll give you is about the gangs and the being able to search, right? So yes. We had said under the current regime that there's actually no specialist search powers for New Zealand Police to be able to go and search people that need to be searched to make sure that they are complying with the firearms prohibition orders that are placed upon them. So we've got these orders, but we've got no way of being able to check in on people. So we want to be able to go and search them. Now, the reality is, and you'll see it in the news, your listeners will see it in the news, that we're having drive-by shootings. We're getting mums being shot at by gang members. And the whole ability for police to be able to pull over cars where a person with an FPO is in a vehicle and actually check them for firearms is paramount, right? So we want to be able to allow them to be able to do those searches. But what the committee has come back and said, well, if we allow that, sure, we get this. But if somebody's in, say, a hotel and we want to go search their room, does that mean that we have the ability to search every room in the hotel? And I kind of think, do we really need to put that into legislation? That's common sense, surely, that we would not go through every room of the hotel. And we also need to be able to justify these searches that are occurring as well. We can't just say, hey, look, we're just going to search you. We've got to have a reason to be able to do that. And so the Select Committee has picked up on that as well. So they've said, look, you've said police need to suspect that a person has an order placed upon them. We want to change that to police need to believe that there's an order imposed upon them. To me, this is just word changing. It affects it has the same outcome. I'm okay with that. But one of the reasons why we wanted the ability to expand the criteria was because we have senior gang members who commit really low-level crime and don't commit the serious offences which FPOs are usually issued on people for. So that's why we wanted to bring in the lower level. Right. But then the Select Committee said that's too low, and we want to put some criteria around it. And in actual fact, they have accepted the majority of what we want to change there. They're just saying, in the Crimes Act, this is a huge act. You've got lots of offences which are 12 months or more. So can we just narrow this down to where it's crimes against a person, crimes against property, or threatening, conspiring, or attempting to commit offences? And that kind of looks okay, but it's not going to capture the low-level offending from the senior gang members that we're actually after. So I've got to have a chat to some of my colleagues about whether or not we need to strengthen it more. or whether we just leave it as is, because the Select Committee have heard from the people, and this is what they recommend as part of those changes.
Okay, they also looked at giving police too much power for warrantless searches. Was the bill too broad with that, do you think?
Well, I mean, this is where I'm saying we actually need to give the police the ability to go and make sure that people are complying with the firearms prohibition orders. That means we've got to be able to search them for these illegally held firearms. So if we can't search them, how do we know if they're actually complying? And so changing that word from suspect to believe, I get that. That's all okay, and I think we can carry on with that one. But I don't believe that we've given too much. I think at the end of the day, we've got gun crime out of control. We've got drive-by shootings on homes of parents, young kids as well. We actually need to get the firearms out of their possession. Yeah. And part of that is being able to pull them over or go into their homes and actually take those illegal firearms away from them so they stop committing harm in our community.